Okay. Okay, Sam, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Thanks everyone. I just wanted to, I've just put a slide deck together just because I was concerned about the resolution coming through, and I figured this was probably the best way to get an overview, and then we can drill into live information. So just keep that in mind. Bear with me as we go through a bit of slides. Hopefully, it's clear enough, and we'll go from there. And again, you'll see the intentions. I think the third slide that I have, I just want to, I want to start by just thanking Greg, Dan, for their work and helping my learning. I think everything that you'll see here today will be a result of those teachings and some of my learning. And also a huge thank you to Alex, who's provided quite a bit of insights and answers to a lot of my questions. So I want to start with that as a appreciation for everything that I'm sharing today is a result of those three, which I am so appreciative of. Here's what I'm hoping to cover, and the only reason I've created this slide deck is to keep me on track because I'll get all over the I'll move to different things as I see things. So what I'm really hoping you know and understand is I'm just sharing my process and how I'm using trading software, in particular TC2000. I'm going to share my main layout, my scanning layout, and then just organizing the scanning potentials, what happens from the watch list to the action list, and what I'm paying attention to. So I wanted to share that. That's the main focus. And then what I'm hoping people do is develop, refine, and adapt your trading process based on what I've shared. And this is really intended, um, it's not intended to tell you how to trade or how to do things. I really feel that um, there this is really intended for new people just in terms of how to organize all the information that we get presented. And it's taken me a few years just to navigate and find a process that works for me. Um, and that's too bad, Alex, because I did say some nice things about you, which you missed. So that's the intention. This is not about do this and this is the best way. It's what works for me. So that's the intent. Um, I'm going to share the charts. Hopefully, everybody is seeing everything clear, but typically, this is what I look at. I have four 27-inch 4K monitors. This is the information I'm looking at probably 90% of the time. And charts are screen one and two at the bottom there is what I'm going to go through and just hopefully provide a bit of some ideas in terms of just in terms of um, everything that I can see is based on colors, I think helps me. And I think that's part of the thing. I appreciate it, Robert, but once I walk you through, I think you'll see it's actually quite simple. Um, Screen one is probably where I spend most of my time. And and we'll go through and just see how to organize. And the other thing I've been working on as well is if I only had one monitor, which one, how could I work? And you're going to see some of that as I flip through because I'm on a secondary computer with two monitors. and I'm only using monitor one in position right now because the second monitor has Zoom and the presentation view of the slide deck. So um, here's the main screen. Just go through these are the charts, and I've blown up each of these charts so you can see what's on my charts. Basically, from the top yellow one is monthly, then we go to weekly. At the bottom is daily, and then on the light gray colored charts, 65 minute, 15 minute, 5 minute. Everything that's set up pretty much is as Greg and Dan have taught, and I'll explain as we go through the charts. Over here, I have anything with the horseman is generally a blue background chart. I have the daily and the 5 minute on at all times. Then over here, I have the VIX and the tick chart. Those I see that all the time. Up here, and I'll talk more about this on the left-hand side, are flagged items, which are my positions. And then on the right are my watch list items. And those of you in the green room know that I put out each day after about 11:30, sort of what are the ones for consideration. And then the other one here that I think I'll spend more time on that is really when I found it, it helped me organize more is the watch list manager. And you'll see when I go through scanning how I can quickly put them into the daily thing. And just a bit of before we get too deep, generally swing trading, I will day trade the horseman, but 95% of what I do is swing, with 5% the day trading. All I do for day trading is the horseman. Put an asterisk on that because there may be exceptions, but that's rare. The second screen here, a lot of watch lists and information. However, I will highlight here, this is what I'm using for the daily options scanning, this part of the chart, which is just the options chain and then a watch list with the earnings date. And then my third screen is just the horseman with weekly, daily, and 5 minute charts. And again, I know that the color triggers for me is blue is it too well, I'm hoping it'll get better, Alex. This is the slide deck, and I can share the slide deck. It's not it's not how's this chart? Okay, so this again is the daily chart that it is just a blown up version of sorry, just is a blown up version of this chart. The lower middle, that's the daily, and this is just a blown up version of that. And you can see it's pretty simple. How I operate is the green horizontal line is my entry target. So I'll go through my process. I'll set that green line as my trigger. And I've used the fib. Is it the fib extensions, I believe, where you've got the 1R is the first dotted line and then 2R, and you can see the top of the tails from the last 2 days. Today it's we'll look at it later. That's 1R and then the 2R. So that's sort of what I'm looking at there. Really nothing on this chart. The 20, the 50, and the 200. And then the red line at the bottom is it probably was on a list to short at some point. So red for me is a short trigger. Here's the weekly chart of Ecolab in this case. And I have conditional formatting on it, just related to the MACD. If the MACD is going up and the histogram is positive, it gets a solid green. And it's just a quick rule that I have that I can't short I can't short based on the weekly that's a dark green uh bar, so I just don't short on that. There might be exceptions when I see something that um yeah, exactly, Alex, just a fib extension for the measured move. Yeah, of course. Um the the this chart, the weekly, is my bias. It's through the master trader stuff, like go one time frame higher. So that's what I've set up here. And then the monthly is on a log scale. So I see this chart when I was looking at it yesterday, I'm like, oh wow, this is uh beautiful on multiple time frames. And then so my monthly chart I look at through a log chart, a log scale, a log scale. It just makes the moves proportionately the same. And you can Google or AI that. Um, and then my 65-minute chart, you can see the only thing that's added here, I know I've talked about it in the green room, is the green checkered line is the 5-day moving average, intraday, um, on that. Then the 15-minute, I include pre and post data. And then the 5-minute, this is the one. And again, this is 20, 60, 200, as Greg has taught us. I've got the open marked and yesterday's close marked. I do have at the bottom the average true range, and that's just something that Alex taught me in terms of doubling the average true range as it gets close to target. I know there's more nuances than just that, Alex, but that's why I have it there. And you'll also see on my 15 and 5-minute chart that I use the anchor, not the volume weighted moving average. I, I just use it as another moving average to help speed up my process. Anything that I talk about in terms of a trigger, it's based on the chart. It's not based on any indicator. Sometimes more things align, and that gives me more confidence. However, I don't use it as a trigger. It's just another point of reference, if you will. Um, and then the scanning. So this is just where we're going to dive into in a bit. Um, I have a layout that's just called this a scanning layout. And this part is exactly the same as what you've seen. The next part, this has really helped me in terms of organizing uh, the work. The work to me is your scanning, because once you've put in the scanning work and you've developed your trigger and your stop, how do you keep your ideas organized? And this is what's helped me. So you can see on this at the top, those are Monday, and then it just goes down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And what I've numbered those is 0, 1 Monday, 0, 2 Tuesday, etc., because those go to the top of this watch list manager. So then real quickly I can click, and you might not, but you'll see it later. The heart there is Wednesday. So two above it is Monday, Tuesday, and then today's will be two below the heart. So then as I go through um, ideas and scans, I just click on that icon to add it to my list for the day. And predominantly, I think I've shared, I'm on a weekly cycle. So I'm looking for the week, but I have ideas each day based on my scanning. And then here, you're going to see these are the scans. I run one, two, three, four bullish scans, and I only run the one bearish scan. It seems to put me in the ballpark of what's happening. And then sometimes you'll notice when I post, I'm noticing a lot of this come up. It's through the scan. So we'll go through that when we're doing the live charts. And then here are the scans, and I've just taken a screenshot. So if anybody wants to know, so I look at a scan that has MACD in the exponential moving average moving up. And if I want to look at those stocks, there's some pre on all my stuff, I'm looking at, I think, price over $5 and volume, average volume over 300K. So that's default, not defaulted, but I've added those to most of my scans. Then you'll see this is a green watch list. This is a wide range bar scan on the 130-minute chart. And that's the scan. Generally, I start my scanning at 2 p.m. And this will highlight any stocks that are potential late day breakout. But it does give quite a few good ideas for the next day. And then this other one is a exponential moving average of 10 up and the relative strength index greater than 50. So this provides some ideas as well. And then finally, I've created a scan that is the closes for the last 5 days have been lower, except yesterday it closed above the 5th day low, if you will. So this one I really like when it provides some ideas, because a couple of my favorite setups are the long flag and the buy setup, and this one can highlight some of those. And then my bearish scan is just the MACD and exponential moving average moving down. So those are the those are the charts that you're going to see. I'm worried that the detail and however it's coming across on your monitor. So I'm going to switch over, but I'll just pause if there are any question. Oh, that's just Alex. That's just on the that's to that's for scanning. It's not for my live charts, like for my daily charts. Yeah, I use simple moving average pretty much all the time, other than in those scans. So I think that's it for the slideshow. So um, do how is this coming across here? Because I want to, or I'm going to pause if there are questions as well. Oh, Jesus, I can show my tracking sheet after. Just remind me. I like to say that I'm right 2 times for every time I'm wrong. So generally, I'm in around 60%, 65%. Week week to week, it changes. Um, but I do. I'm comfortable being wrong once out of 3 times. You can see Ecolab here. Those charts look great, but today it doesn't look like it's wanting to go up, but the market's down as well. Okay, so this is just sort of I use these flagged items are my positions, and then I just scan through, going through, and you can see I have the green entry. And in some cases I haven't put the extensions on because I just haven't got to it. But as example, GFL, I've got my 2R target is under that pivot. So that's what I've looked at. Iron is an interesting one. I think this comes right out of some of Dan and Greg's, it's broken out above this green line and now it's pulled back to retest it. So I'm happier now with that position. And yeah, so I just go through and rather than putting all of these on separate tickers, I find that it's quicker. News I've got, it just triggered and hasn't continued down. So that's where I keep my PSA looks good. looks good. And urban, urban maybe is going to give a bear sandwich here. So I'm hoping it takes out those things. Um, so that's sort of where my positions are. So I don't want to, um, I don't want to. Oh yeah, I can, Alex. I will do that. Basically, if here, I'll just enlarge this chart. Basically, um, if this is moving up and the histogram is above zero, it's dark green. If it's moving down and the histogram, it's dark red. And if it's a combination of one of those being positive, one being negative, it gets a light color. So that's how I use, and that's predominantly only on the weekly. My pre-market, I do it as well in pre-market when I'm looking at some of the stuff I look at pre-market. But I just switch. Generally, I'm here most of the time. Um, this Okay, so now the scanning part, and I just want to, and we'll do some scanning. It's a little bit early for the 11 or the 10, the 2 o'clock scan, but we'll go through. We're going to go through some scanning, and then I'm just going to show you how I organize my work. So you can see here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Um, so I just come in each day, remove the symbols, and now you can see here so you can see here with this watch list, the heart is Wednesday. It can be anything. Um, and now that I know if I find a symbol I like, I just click on this box here and it's going to add it to this watch list. So let's just go through and scan, and you're going to see this live. You may disagree with what I select, but these will be the ones that will be put in the green room as potential longs for consideration. And the other thing is the potential longs for consideration is I go very quickly, and then in the evening I spend time putting it into a spreadsheet to see that I'm getting uh, what my what my trigger is, what my stop is, what potential 2R would be, and then I make a judgment. So we'll just go through and scan um, together on this. If you see something you like, just jot it down. And I'm going to make some comments that, again, this is my thinking and process. SRPT, it's not a swing, but the 5 minute looks interesting to me. Same with the 65, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not adding it. Ryan, the other thing that you'll notice, so I've got a couple of things here. This is a watch list that I use it as my favorite. So if I star it, it makes it here. And the only reason I have it here is to verify that I haven't forgotten to do that. And then this is the alert. So when I set an alert, sometimes I forget. So I have that here, but predominantly you can see because it's starred, it's already on the watch list for this week. Um, Unfortunately, it was on the watch list as a short, which you can see what happened there. So I'm just going to go through, and I've got 36, so we'll just go through very quickly. Um, this is already on a watch list. You can actually, I think this is a position. That's a position I gave this morning. Um, a watch doesn't mean it's a actionable item. This one I will. So I'm going to put it on the watch list. I just have to click here and it goes on the Friday watch list. And then I'll have all of those for tonight to look through. I like Adobe. So this is all I do. I don't want to bore people with watching me scan, um, but I will just highlight each of the scans. I'll go and redo this after I stop presenting here. Um, and I keep the line from a previous time on there, so it also brings some attention to me. Um, this one, I see the gap, so I don't think um, herb. So you can see that's basically what I do each day at Pan W's already on the list if it can clear those highs. Um, Urban is a position you saw already. CNK 2040. Not yet. This is on the watch list. I posted it yesterday. And then you can also see real quick, that's on the Thursday watch list. So I can see that already there, but I knew it because it starred. Um, Same. I was in Dick's. I got out close to 2R there. Um, and that's that list. And then you can just see these are the ones that I'll go through. There's the wide range bar scan. It's a little early. This is meant to be run after 2 o'clock, but we can go through and you can see there's potentially some ideas here that pop up. Again, a little early today. Um, and then this is the RSI and expansion. So this is a position I'm in. It's not looking good. Um, this has shown up, but I didn't like the volume. I was in it. I think I left it scratch. That volume, that 5 minute chart and the 15-minute chart, it's quite thin. What got my attention though was this spike here. So, but I don't know what's happening with that. Um, ESA, yeah, I'll mark that. Oh, I'm already in that. So that's good. It looks good and I'm already in it. I like when that happens. Um, and then the last one is the 5 days down. So there's a lot here where they've been down for 5 days and they've now closed above. But on this, um, generally what I'm doing on this is I'm more interested if it's in a sideways or an uptrend than if it's in um, a downtrend. So we'll just quickly go through. Something might pop up here that um, that one maybe. And Dano, this might be a good one for also uh, a put spread or something like that. I generally don't use it for that. Um, uh, this was a oh no, that wasn't. I get the point, Alex, that sometimes you find something different. This one might be interesting. Um, it's a bio though, so we'll keep going. Um, so then sometimes I'll just do quick math here. So oh, that's the other way I've set up the chart. The red is the low of the day, the green is the high of the day. So I can quickly do that's about a $3. So 2R would be $6 to 51. Probably not. So just as you're the ones that I like on this are ones that are not in downtrends, not bouncing from a downtrend. Um, I like, you get the point though. I don't want to bore people. Um, hmm. Just I'll show my Excel spreadsheet. I'll go through that. Oh, I'm almost done this. This is number 59, 60, 61. This one's interesting. I might put this on the watch list. Just the visual aid of the 200 sloping down is a bit of a concern, so I'd prefer it to be flatter. So I don't think I'll pass on that. That's the process that I go through. Um, and now if for example I wanted to look at KFY as a let's look at a dope. It doesn't matter. Any of these that I'm considering as a long H&R block. What happens now, and just bear with me, I will. Oh, and you can see that even if I had one monitor, I could quickly switch here. Here is where I look for, I don't want to forget to mention this. This is where I'm looking for um, uh, earnings options trades. So this is sorted by next earnings. There's no earnings on Monday. This also, what I do is this week I have it on all US common stocks with the filter. However, let's um, next week I'm switching it to just the ones with weekly options because this was obviously monthly expirations today. FedEx and CCL are on Tuesday. So I would look at these on Monday and then I go through and look at with the chart. I need the chart. So at FedEx, I'm looking like maybe 270 and 235 just as a ballpark. That's that's what I no acros acros on that. I didn't realize it was a bio at the time, Alex, as I was going through. Generally, no bios unless I make a mistake, which happens as well. But um, so that's how I utilize the this for the options trading. I look at weeklies. Tuesday, there's the two, and then that's just sorted by date. And then the next thing I wanted to show is the process. If I'm going to look at herb, um, I will, I will, I don't have it open, just bear with me. Um, uh, okay, so if I'm going to do this process, it's going to be hard for me to show it side by side, but I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll show the spreadsheet after I do this. So if I was going to do this as a in the evening, I would look at this. I'd probably want to be above this. So 53.77. I- I'd probably go 54.10 as a trigger um, on that. So I'm just, and uh, if it takes out these highs, I'm looking at under this green bar as my stop. So 51.87. You'll see where I'm putting these numbers in a second. The spreadsheet is saying the 2R is 58.56. Yeah, I I feel pretty good about that. So I would go 58.60. You'll see this in a second. This is HRB. Earnings are the 8th, 8:20. Um, okay, and then what I would do here is I would just add my uh, entry at 54:10 and set the alert. So what you'll see is a couple of things here. You'll see an alert show up here. Um, and then I just hit the star and it's on my watch list. Although today being Friday, I would just hold these for my next week's watch list. I go through and I reset everything based on based on the week. And this is let me just let me um hold on, bear with me. Okay. So this is my tracking spreadsheet. Um what I've done here is HRB, there's the earnings date. If the date highlights in red, it means that earnings. So that's just another check for me. ACN, we actually got in yesterday after earnings. So, but uh, there's the entry price, there's the stop, there's the target. It calculates the 2R target there, and then I have an 80% target and a 1R target. So everything that I do goes through this tracking sheet. So that's basically it. More than happy to share, uh, answer any questions. Um, what I found is this has really helped me organize. These are really meant to help new traders in terms of one of the things I don't do and what I realized I'm more deliberate as a personality type. So by doing this 5410 when that alert and I post that means I've done the work before that. Sometimes if I see a 5 minute chart where it's climactically gone up, I might say I'm going to wait before committing, but that's occasionally. Um, that's and I got if we're talking about just using colors for things, this one is this one brain damage for Alex, markets and sectors. These are on weekly and these match with sort of economic cycle. So this is the start, this is middle, these so that those colors match to um that to the economic and market cycles. So that's how I know very quickly. I use colors pretty much all the time, and different colors mean different things. When I look at um, the intermarket analysis, which is right out of Greg sharing with us. Blue to me is just this is a weekly. It's almost like a dashboard of stuff. The other one, when I use the relative strength stuff, I use relative strength for the sectors. I know that Alex doesn't prefer this, but I can see again these colors match to those economic and market cycles. So I can make sense and very quickly. You can look at the charts as well. This is meant to be just a very quick look. I only look at this weekly. So internals I use. Yes, you. um, the internals that I use are the I use oh so sorry, I use this one every day, the breath, and I look at sentiment every day, CPC and CPCE. But I use stock charts at the end of the day for those, and I do use this one, as you know, Alex, the 40-day and the 200, and I look at these each day. That was again, just I don't want to over complicate things. This is my tracking each day. So I look at sentiment, I look at breadth, it color codes based on extremes, and then the moving average I look at each day, and then Australian, Chinese, German, UK. I look at all of these things, and I try to predict. My prediction for the day today is green. It doesn't look like it will be coming through, but so that's let's go back to my, just see what the market's doing. Yeah, it might be green today. Still could be green. So we'll see what happens. Predominantly VIX I use, CPC, CPCE, and breath. Those are the ones I use quite a bit, all the time. Any like anything else that I can share? Breath. What is that in? I'm not sure what that. I don't use TradeStation, so I. Oh, in TC, it's T2106, I believe, is the one, T2106, and then these levels are just the ones that Greg provides. The other one that I've shared as well, which is interesting, is this SPY with S&P with 2106. This is the one that I look at each week. So let's see. Just very fascinating in that these blue cover colors, breadth is negative, but market's going up. And then after these times, market continues to go up when it gets positive, which I'm just monitoring. I don't I don't spend a lot of time. I look at it each week, but yeah, 2106 matched up. And then so what I'll do this tonight is I'll just extend this because we're still negative, and then I'll extend this to show that this is weird. So that's why it's weird, because we're going up with a negative breath, which is it's just
So
not,
I can add a
no,
little to that so that they
yeah.
understand. Um, and this, what you're displaying there, and that being negative, is we talk about this pre-market or in the letters, as far as this is a broad measure of the breadth. Oops, where's my drawing thing here? Lose stuff. Uh, Hold on a second. Anyway, I don't know where that thing went. Jeez. Um, so on the bottom there, the zero line where Sam has it highlighted in reddish, um, what this is a measure of, and the data must be in TC. I've never asked them, but it has to be, since they make this McClellan oscillator, but it must be behind the scenes, I guess, because they don't show it as a statistic, advancers minus decliners. And so if you just minus one, advancers minus decliners, it gives you a raw number. And what this breadth internal is doing, this McClellan oscillator, is plotting two moving averages, essentially an MACD indicator, a 19 and a 39 exponential. If it's below zero, the 19 is below the 39. If it's above the zero line, the 19 is above the 39. And then the distance between the two. So back there on the second red area from the right, yeah, where it's being highlighted where it got really deep there, the distance between the two moving averages were very far apart. And so when it gets to that extreme, we know that statistically, based on the historical data, the market should be close to the downside momentum slowing. Now, if sentiment lines up with that, we know that there's a very high probability because the both of them are aligned. So now what we see while the markets are going up and breadth is negative, right? Even and below the zero line, it's not even intersecting through the zero line. It's down there. It just tells us that we have an overwhelming situation here where big cap, a limited amount of stocks are going up, pulling the S&P with it, and the techies, right, semiconductors. But whether we so the breadth internal is really a very easy, broad-based way of saying what is the majority of stocks doing. Now, when we go and say, in the letters or here in the room or pre-market, sometimes I go and show different ETFs where you could say, oh, the financials are in the middle of their trading range. Regional banks are at the bottom of the range, but holding. Retailing is in the middle of the trading range. So you go through a whole lot of data that tells you that there isn't many ETFs, sectors moving up. There's a few. We're looking at this breadth internal. You look at that and say, well, I know that's the case. I just don't know which ones are the worst performers or the mediocre performers. And that's where you go to the individual sectors and start looking there, top down approach. And then, of course, you can look at the stocks within those ETFs.
The other one, even on that, just from the scanning, these two scannings, which are basically the same, they're 95 bearish and 36 bullish. So that's a bit of a warning sign, I guess, as well. Like those are some of the things that I look at. Like just I don't want to say I look at it. It's just sort of a notice without really a big paying attention. On this one, I will highlight also with what Greg just talked about. I do this each week. And if we go back, I do this every day, but each week, looking at what's getting highlighted and when they're both, I haven't I haven't seen that alignment through here. So breadth at an extreme is bullish. So each week I have a glance of what's going on, as you can see, and then it's just and this is my 5 minute mark. Yeah, I do this manually, but it colors them automatic. I've got conditional formatting here. I'll show you today. If it's on Wednesday, if this was minus, or if this was negative 120, it'll be green. And if this, if sentiment is 0.79, oh, that's the wrong way. If this is 1.2, and if this was over 0.85, that would give me an alignment. Like everything's telling me you need to start thinking bullish. So it does that automatically. And that I just put the numbers in manually. And then the conditional formatting changes that. But yeah, that's part of and the only reason I do that in the first 5 minutes is to prevent me from trading as well. Like I have to do some things because to keep myself in check. So any like any
I think
questions
what you
or
said, Sam, was a very important point for everyone, because if you're starting out, that might seem counterintuitive, because I think many of us approach this, first of all, we all approach it from the point of view of how do I pull money out of the markets? Then you want to learn something, whether it's fundamentals or technicals, you gravitate towards something. Then once you have a method, especially as someone that's an active investor or trader, how do I define active? Well, you're in front of your screens during the day. And even though you be a swing trader, you may not need to be, you're looking for new opportunities um, throughout the day. You're actively involved on intraday basis in some level. And so looking at so much information, we need ways to bring our biases back to where we know they should be. And you say, well, why don't you know that in the middle of the day? Well, I'm looking at different time frames, different internals, different sectors, and whether things are going our way or not, we may be more or less inclined or influenced by what's happening in the moment versus what we know, the type of plan that we've laid out that we should follow. So what Sam was saying, I don't know exactly what he said was bringing him back to it, because I missed it when I was doing something else. But the thing is, whatever you use to bring yourself back to your trading plan, whatever that is, it's important, because you're susceptible to going off of course. Right? Just like, you have a compass, whether you're out in the woods or out in the ocean, and you need to get your bearing again, whatever your compass is, intraday, you need to find out what it is and be disciplined to use it.
yeah, and Greg, I'll add that, yeah, that's like think as I think all of us, there's a bit of FOMO around like, oh, this person has such a great idea and I'm worried about missing out on it. Like generally I don't take trades that I haven't gone through my process. Day trades are different because I know that's a very quick thing. I'm highlighting here even on TDC, which is part of that 2 p.m. scan. This has shown up. It's basically gone sideways for most of the day. This might, I'm actually going to add it to the list, but I'm I'm not really thinking for today. We're also going into the weekend, all of those things. Just some other very things that Alex had talked about the trader pivots. It's on there. I don't use it. I do not use those things as entries. I use them as awareness. And the more things that like if this moving average was up there, this moving average was up there, it'd come down and it's now coming back at this, and I've got a bunch of other signals, I'm like, okay, it's got my attention. Um, but that's pretty much I don't I think for and again, I think the other thing, any advice for new folks would be start with the daily, because too much the information comes so quickly intraday that you have to pros like I'm sure what I've shared here could be overload for people, but it comes with time. Like when I first came into this, it's like, why am I using them? What moving average? How do I create them? Like all of that is normal and part of the process. And then getting used to the software and using that. So, um, again, just anybody new, that it's really meant to show, I think, highlight the point that develop your own process and others can sort of guide it. But there's stuff that I do that, oh, look at TDC maybe is moving. Um, and again, if I've put this on the list, sometimes I come back at the end of the day and it moved in that last couple of hours. So then it comes off the list. When I go to this spreadsheet, that's where I spend more time to say, okay, what's the is the earnings. Sometimes I'll suggest a stock that I haven't paid as close attention to earnings, but I do in the evening when I'm developing the rest of the plan. So those are just things that hopefully has been helpful. I'm trying to I can't quite open I wanted to highlight one thing, Greg, that is in your course. I was flipping through my notes and I can't open one note right now, it seems. Maybe what I'll do is I'll try to stop sharing and then I will see if I can
Not today.
stop share.
Yeah.
I just want to try to pull one thing that I think, Greg, I don't think we've ever really talked about. Um, and this is so I'm going to pull this back. These are notes from the chapter 11 psychology of trading. I know you mention it at times. These are um this stuff, it's funny in that it's it's in the course. And and so here um
This is in the swing trading course. Right?
this is the MTS, the big course.
Okay.
But here it is: have patience and discipline. That's right out of the course. Have a trading time, spend the time, review and learn. Keys to like these are right out of, again, I started with thanking Greg and Dan and Alex. Um, these are there was another one that I wrote down just sort of as I was um, going through. Just again, I try to there was one that I think you talked about, like treat it like a business.
Sure.
Um, there it is. This is right out of Greg's course: possess objectivity and discipline, singular desire to enjoy have positive attitude. Um, you control your daily routine. And the one thing that we've talked about is you don't like when I look at ECL, which I took the screenshots of, and last night when I was looking at it, I'm like, this is freaking amazing. And then you look at what happened today, like it's nice that it's bottoming here at the breakout area, but those are things that like we don't control that. I know there was questions on in the green room about, like it can be a perfect pattern and fail. Like, and you just have to accept that. There was a question about what my batting average is. Yeah, I'm wrong one out of every three times. And that's as a person who doesn't like being wrong, is probably one of the toughest parts of trading. So
You have
again,
to,
there. Go ahead,
what I
Greg.
was going to
Sorry.
say, what I was going to say is, Alex is typing in there that it didn't fail. So in someone, and this is what makes trading difficult too, until you accept the reality of your own plan and it's not going to be perfect. Someone else's failure is someone else's, it's still okay. So, that depends on how you manage it. So in MTS, in the courses, we have a very systematic way of management, which starts with the most simplest things. The prior support, the most first reference of support and resistance is a prior bar's high and low. Period. Now, violating a prior bar's low isn't always significant. It depends on, how it did it. Like the semiconductors yesterday, that was an outside bar, meaning it gapped up and then it closed below the prior bar's low. I think SMH looks more like it on the daily chart of what I'm referring to. If you expand the chart a little bit, yeah, there you go. So you see it that's a, I use the word potent reversal bar. Now that it doesn't mean that it cannot be negated, right? But when you start comparing that red bar to other bars that preceded it, you can see that it's big. And so it's more meaningful because of the size of it. And not only did it gapped above, then it traded well below. It didn't gap up and just trade, let's say, it didn't gap up and close at the top of that bar, right? Meaning
Like
it
like if it was
just
this bar over
right, it
here.
just hit the first support point, the prior bar's high there, right? What was resistance now becomes support. So it came down to it. Whereas this bar, this gapped up and it closed not only below one bar, it closed on a closing basis, it closed below that bar. So there's nothing mysterious, nothing complicated. Just, hey, that bar's big and it closed below two prior closes, not below that bar's low, but it got pretty darn close. So, common sense. That is something that I need to respect, even though the trend is up. Yeah,
And,
just
and
common sense.
similarly, I think on SPY, Greg, too. Look at what SPY did, a bearish engulfing as well, right?
Right, but it's not as big. I spoke about
Yeah.
that pre-market. It's not as big. And when we, our systematic work, just go back to SPY for a second. So like for you do that, this one, wide bar, does it stay in the lower 50%? So now if you go to spiders, and what we look at is that, well, this isn't a wide bar. That's wider than the prior days, but this bar, this bar broke out. And so now looking at the spiders, the question is, can it stay in the upper 50% of the big green bar? So, it gapped down today. Now, does it close back up there? So we're always focused on what this concept is, does it close in the upper 50%? And if it can regain that, which possibly it can, there's a couple hours left to go. Um, you know, clearly that's stronger.
Yeah, it just checked in on this topping tail, it looks like, right? Like, and those are some of the things that sometimes I do. These lines down here, like this 497, you look, that's where it gapped above. See, like I do that. Some people might wonder about what's this trend line. It just gets put in. It was marking, it held, and it's just a observational thing. I don't use those. I do generally draw horizontal on my charts. This one, SPY's a messy one because I look at it and I add a bunch of things. But if I looked at Smash Mouth Zoom, or sorry, SMH, again, you're looking even as a and that's the other thing, I guess, that knowing your software and your tools just around, like, I know I can, like, from here when I'm in this layout, if I'm going to do an intraday
Fernand.
entry on SPY, probably X SPXL, I know that I can go to a full screen layout by just Shift L, and then I know I can go back to have quite a bit on there. So that's just sort of, as you develop proficiency with your software, um, you can get quite a bit out of this one screen, and that's sort of the bit of a challenge. Put diamonds on a 5 minute. Okay. Um, how far back do you want to go? Just one day? I think that'll be close. You've got a little more than one day. And again, this is what Greg talked about. I even think this week, Greg, you meant like this pink checkered line is today's open. This
Yeah,
is yesterday's close. And
yeah. So all of my 5 minute charts have the days open and yesterday's close, which tend to be pretty decent reference points, especially
Yeah.
the prior day's close. Is it up on the day or down on the day? That simple observation, is how some traders or institutions operate. It's up on the day, buy the dips, or this is
Look at
down on the day, buy something that's up on the day.
well, and I always am fascinated to look at the react, like there's the open, and then we just go across this tail right at the open, this opened right at the this closed right at the open, this opened right at the open, failed, like that's a big failure. And then we look, oh, what's happened here? It's
Right.
it's right. So it's interesting when and you look at the close. This bar closed right at that. This bar opened, and yeah, yeah,
So
that's the
these things are lining up with, the actual support and resistance, which adds to the validity of, that line. So, the opening, two of the things in addition, when you look at the opening price, let's say the opening price and the closing price, and everybody's looking at candlestick charts for the most part. Well, this is, what's that drawing thing? This is green. Color it in, right? It's green, and vice versa, if it's below. So looking at your 5-minute chart, and I'll explain this a little more for those that aren't familiar. I don't know what moving averages you have on here. You got some others.
20, 60, and 200. And
Okay,
then
so
the
20, yeah, 20, 60, and 200. 20 MA, just a good shorter moving average. Some people use shorter, whatever. The 60 is the same as the 20 on the 15-minute chart. The 200 is close to equal to the 20 MA on the hourly chart. So this chart, looking at the moving averages, they're kind of intersecting each other. You know, that visual aid tells us that things are directionless today on multiple time frames. So you're swimming upstream if you're looking for a directional trade at this time. Right? Is it bottoming? You got pivot highs, you got pivot lows, resistance right there. Maybe if things could develop here, maybe it gets going again. But what we're looking at here is what I explained. Is it above or below? What kind of color candle is it on the daily chart? Is our prices above the open in yesterday's close or vice versa? Are the moving averages flat? Are they pointed up? Is the 20 above the 60? Are they trending upward? Are they trending downward? So as we flip through our different charts or scans, we're looking for things that put more concepts in our favor that are aligned together.
yeah, and I'm just putting SPY on because I predicted a green candle today, and right now it's green. So, and as I was talking, I said, yeah, they might have some space. And the other thing I do use on this is I do like to see, I do like to see a when these come, I'd like to see this 60 flattening more. Like that's sort of a setup I like. But it comes back to what the candles are doing. There's some tails here to get through, but if it could take out like this bar high, I think then I think there's room. But
Yeah, but you have so you're looking at the 200 being flat. Right? So you're
no,
looking
the
for
my red is the 60.
the 60 being flat. Yeah,
Yeah, the
so
200's up here.
okay. So this is the 60, and you can see it's pointing down.
Yeah.
And the 20 is pointing down. Now, is it potentially making a turn? Maybe, since it got a retest of that pivot, but it's up against this resistance here to the left. Now, what would make me even think about scalping this? it would take some kind of shock bar where it tried to go down and it flipped right back up again. But based on the arrangement of this particular chart and how it looks, my expectation would not be for a monster move. It's
Yeah.
just
The
just
only
not
thing would be the triple witching.
right, right. And these kind of days many years ago used to be wilder. And, you know, I guess not only recent years, but, not, some years back, they've tended to be kind of non-events, except for the last half hour of the day where things get kind of wild, as those positions are getting closed out. Um, so there's some big option positions in SPX that are deep in the money here. And you know, whether they get rolled or what they do, I don't know. But it can have an effect of moving things around.
That that 544.12 that I marked, it like look at what happened pre-market as well. It's like, I don't know, there's something there. So, but that and I just marked that as we were talking, this 544.12, and then just the coincidence that it's also been important pre-market.
What time frame is this one?
This one is the 15.
Okay, and this one is the 5 down below it.
Yeah, this is the
So,
5.
yeah, just as I'm looking at your charts, I look at these and I say, okay, this is in a trading range, directionless. This I look at this as like, okay, kind of looks like a head and shoulders pattern beginning to develop, and this pretty significant support here. So it would have to break below that to suggest it would be going lower, and resistance up there. I look at a picture here that tells me stand aside.
Yeah.
All right, you got some
So
spaghetti on there, Sam.
no, there's no spaghetti, Greg. There's no spaghetti at all. This is the five. Oh, over here. Yeah. And SPY is the worst one. I do that. But you look up here, this is where I'm going to get my bias. This, I don't even need the 50 and 200. It's just laziness. Um, and really, there's nothing here to influence. So when I'm looking at the daily, there's nothing to really influence. If this coming to test this minor support and turning, like we could get the, call it what you want, it's going up, but
Yeah.
we could also get a 20-day test. Like those are all, like we're sort of in no confidence land right now.
Like there's nothing, no matter where we might look. I shouldn't say not nowhere, but for the majority of places that we're going to look, based on how we look at things, they would not suggest this is a high probability opportunity at this moment.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
as like, hey, you know what, let's put on more trades, or um, maybe time to go all in versus averaging in type of thing.
Yep. Yeah, no, I've been I've been a bit well, I can show you last week. Last week my prediction was wrong, wrong, right, wrong, wrong. So I've been a bit you know, and it was with this gap up, right? Like I was expecting some sort of a fill, this then I thought was going to go, because but it's been a little tough sledding. Not in terms of the P&L, but just in terms of trying to predict at the beginning of the day. And that's another good exercise for folks. Just predict what the bar, like at the start of the day, before the market opens, just predict what color you think the bar will be.
Yeah, I don't know, it might be helpful. You know, I prefer it to be more of hey, that's in an uptrend. If it was the gap above yesterday's red bar, that would be positive. If it moves down lower, And it just leads to that systematic thought process. So whereas, you know, if we say if prices trade above X, I'm bullish. Okay, where do you think prices are going to go if it trades above X? Where's the next resistance? Is there a tradable void? Is there a mess to the left that would suggest, okay, it traded above that, but the upside is limited? Um, is it extended? Whereas if prices are closer to support and the 20, there's a greater probability that a trading above level would go further than being some distance from the 20 MA and price support.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's why I think Alex is big on diamonds daily.
so this is a good point, meaning that this has been an underperformer, right? Just look, this is going up, this is going up, this was going down and flat. Other things are just going down, sideways, sideways, same things over there, right? So the idea, you can call it rotation, you can call it catch-up trades, right? You can call it bringing up the rear, but something that is underperformed and had a deep retracement like that has room to go up, has a greater, let's just say, has greater odds of providing you a profitable long trade than these do, especially in a quarterly options expiration, which is more likely that none of them are going to do very much other than chop you up today. But going into next week, we'll see if these diamonds can play some catch up. You've got the, coming into the end of the month, beginning of the month, bullish period because of the capital inflows. And sometimes that works out, pretty good as a guide for seasonality. But, we'll just see what happens next week. You
Yeah,
can see
I
your IWM here doing absolutely nothing.
yeah. So
Yes.
anyways, hopefully I hope it was useful for folks. I don't hopefully nobody takes it away as you have to do this or else you won't make money. That's not the intent. The intent was really just to provide some different ways that I use TC 2000 to highlight things, I focus on the process, and as it has to work for yourself and your personality is the big thing. I know for me, each day, the more I can make it as a routine, the better it is. I'll stop sharing. I'll go through the scans and then I'll put my suggestions or considerations, but you know exactly where they've come from. They've come from this this Friday. I will still go through the shorts, and I will go through this scan to see TD looks like one that will make the list. But that was the intent. I will figure out. I will get a link to the PowerPoint and I'll drop it in the green room on Monday next week for those who want the I'll do a PDF of the PowerPoint. So if anybody wants to go and try to recreate scans, or if you want scans, like I can share those through TC. It's really, I really do value the community, and a lot of these things I've moved on from, like, Greg has shared some stuff and I've found what worked for me based on that. This scan has from Greg's work as well. So I just value the community aspect of providing resources and ideas for folks. So thanks everyone. I'm appreciative of folks listening and spending the time, and it's also beneficial for me because it just helps reaffirm anytime I can share my process. So thanks, everyone.
Great job, Sam. Thank you. I'm going to end the recording. We can share that with everybody. It's not available until after we close the room, and it's available for me to be able to download it.